just wanted to talk to Karen real quick here. That I remember the first time that I came into my body. It was a very specific moment. I was at like a festival. It was really sunny. I was on the grass. There was like kids playing around, and I was doing some yoga. I'm much quieter. Is that a little better? Yeah, I can turn it up. Hang on. So I was doing some yoga. Input here. Oh, it's on full volume. Okay. Is that, can you guys hear me now? What about now? What about now? Choo. Is that louder? Okay, good. Um, hello, 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 hello. Okay. So yeah, I was at this festival. I was doing some yoga, and then all of a sudden, I just felt like I was in my body. And I know that's not very descriptive, but I just could feel like my consciousness inside my body, and it felt like I was home, like for the first time ever. And so, if you're asking about it, then there's probably still more of you that could come into the body. I find that the greatest way to get into the body and move your body at the same time, like yoga, but it doesn't have to be yoga. It could just be like moving and breathing at the same time. Because that syncs your consciousness and the body. Lots of goodness in the chat box there. All right, back to what I was doing. Okay, so the transmission and the ceremony are kind of blended today. And I think that the reason is that sometimes I feel like if I say things and then there's energy in the body that are in conflict, then it's hard to allow the information to come in. It's hard to consciously understand and feel the words that are spoken if there's actually energy inside the body in conflict. So we're kind of just doing both and moving through it at the same time, which is kind of cool. So I feel like we're ready to move forward here and come back to our discussion about value. So this is kind of a new way for us to operate, but it's actually the original way that we operate, which is from a pure place of creative inspiration and creative impulse. And this has to do with the three dantians. Have I gone through the three dantians in this class so far? I have, right? With the little PDF. Um, so just for fun, we're gonna do it one more time just because it's so important. Maybe we're gonna do it in a way that connects with our exploration today. So let's see here. Find her. Just for a reference, we're going to pull this up. Sarah Adams, gracing us with her beloved presence. Okay, I found it. Okay, here we go. So here we go. Here we are once again looking at our dantians and do this so we can have all of them here. Yay. Okay. So our mechanism of creation of our body, when it's operating correctly, when it's operating smoothly, when our energy body is in alignment, when we are in our creatorhood, creativity and creating things is a very streamlined process. We don't feel blocked or frustrated. We don't feel like we're constantly waiting. We don't feel like, we can't create because there's a lack of energy in any way. So the three dantians is kind of like our car of creation, our vessel, our vehicle, our machine, the mechanics of our creativity. So say that okay, I want you to just kind of throw out the window anything that you think that you're creating right now. We're just going to start from a blank slate, okay? And we're going to start from having no idea what you're creating at all. So if you've been trying to work on a healing business or write a book or whatever, just toss it all out the window for now. And know that, if we start from the beginning of this creative process and that's still the project that comes in, then great. You don't have to reject it. We're just going to see if that's still the thing that brings you the most excitement from this place of alignment. So we're going to start right from the beginning. So pretend that you just got to Earth, okay? You might have been a cloud before or some alien on a different planet or a tree or whatever you were, but you just arrived in this human body. It's already fully grown. prepared for you, and you just landed in it. And you're like, okay, where am I? What am I doing here? So you're on Earth. What you're doing here is you are assisting humanity in reclaiming their superpowers of creativity after we've been enslaved and having these creative powers taken away from us for a long, long time. These are the ways, as we see here, the three dantians, these are the ways that humans have been fooled into forgetting our divine creatorship. And basically through your embodiment of the creative process, you're going to anchor this original yet new way of being onto this planet. Okay, so we're going to go through this with the information of today's class kind of woven into it so we can have a deeper understanding. Okay, so we're really talking about value. What is value? Value is something that is fluid. It changes over time. What is valuable right now might be different tomorrow. If your body really needs an apple, then the apple is really valuable. And the orange is not as valuable to you right now, but the orange might be valuable to somebody else. So value shifts depending on the person and the moment in time and what that thing is serving. And these calculations are not things that the AI can really figure out because machines are very one-dimensional. They have algorithms and they don't have this intuitive, free-flowing sense. So Brian, my husband, he's been obsessed with watching like soccer goal videos this last couple weeks. And he finally wrote me into watching one with him. And I've never watched, soccer. This is this one guy who makes these crazy goals, right? He's like running through all these people. He kicks the ball. It makes like a crazy curve and it hits the net. And I'm like, man, is this guy a robot? Because, they say that some athletes that are famous are clones or whatever, right? So I'm like, is this guy a clone? And Brian's like, no, there's no way this guy can be a clone because just look how much intelligence is running through the guy. Like, he's not like, it's like the video was called like soccer beyond physics or something because there's no like physics explanation for how his body literally calculated like the angle of the ball. It was like 0.3 millimeters. If it was 0.3 millimeter off where his foot hits the ball, it would like not make the goal. And he would consistently make these kinds of crazy goals. So there's this, what I saw from that was that there is this deep intelligence in the body that we call intuition. It's not like he had the time to literally calculate the angle, with physics of where his foot needs to touch the ball. It's like he just knew. And one part of him was making calculations, right? One part of him knew exactly where his foot needed to hit that ball. So it's kind of like that. Our way of creativity as human beings, we have infinite intelligence, and it's this intuitive part that makes the calculations. And so we need to be open and free-flowing enough to be able to sense what that is. And that is our higher dantian. This is something that gets taken away when we're going to school and constantly repetitive stuff, being taught that, here's the parameters of what you can and cannot do. And all of these things restrict the freedom of our inspiration and our consciousness and our creativity. And so when we're calculating the value of something, this is something that's free flowing, but something our intuition is always tuned into in the now moment. So that means that we are creating based on our response to the collective, a response to what's needed, a response to what's valuable in the moment versus what has been taught or what has already been existent in the past. So what I mean by that is, okay, say you've gained all this knowledge about healing. So the false matrix would say the next step for you would be to become an energy healer on the internet and try to create a healing business. And it's almost like your artificial brain would want to go right into all the blueprints that already exist on the planet, right? You do these online sessions and you charge whatever amount of money per hour, and then a lot of light workers actually get funneled into that and get stuck there for a long time because they're like, oh, I'm doing my life purpose, when actually they're maybe like 15% in their purpose. They're just kind of comfortable and satisfied because they're doing something that's kind of quasi-aligned with spiritual stuff. So they took like one step out of the false matrix and just got comfortable and stuck there, right? Whereas when we're in our infinite creativity, we're actually allowing that infinite intuitive part of ourselves, that part of ourselves that can kick the soccer ball at ridiculous angles and make crazy goals, that part of ourselves that can make fluid calculations about what the collective is needing. And that is a weaving and a marriage of our intuition, of our inspiration, and our imagination. So our imagination is the part of us that thinks for itself. It's the part of us that actually perceives the reality and integrates that information. So this is consciousness. The level of consciousness a being has is actually its ability to perceive and integrate the reality, to understand the reality. So for example, my dogs, they have a level of perception where they're like, oh, my life is, this farm, it's really great. Do they know that there's a pandemic happening? No. Do they know that there's an ocean somewhere? No, they don't. So all of these things about the reality, they're not aware of. And so we can say that there's less consciousness inside them than maybe my cat, who is aware that there are other dimensions, who consistently plays tricks on the dogs to amuse himself. Right? He's got kind of more spectrum or perception of the reality. So the more information that can be processed and integrated in our awareness, the more consciousness you have. And the way to acquire more data, more RAM in your brain, is to meditate. So when, of course, all the stuff, that's why that there's video games and pornography, and in school they teach you all the stuff that don't matter. They're just trying to take up more room so you don't have space to think for yourself, right? So these are the false programs. And when you can't think for yourself, you have to rely on what's already out there. You have to rely on what they tell you to do. So this is like the excavation of the higher Dantian, where when it is clear and fluid and you have access of your own brain cells, you can literally look around in the world and say, oh, wow, like this is what is happening in the world right now. And then you can kind of go, oh, this is who I am. This is what I'm here to do. This is what I'm good at. Here are my gifts. And it's almost like you can use your intuition and this free-flowing creative part of your imagination to create something novel which fulfills a need in the world. And actually, you'll see that the more novel it is, the more exciting it is. And the more exciting it is, the more love and excitement energy you can actually summon from your creative energy. So if you're running a healing business and it's kind of good, but you're kind of bored, it's not because, you're not in alignment. It's just that your energy system, your creative system is just not that excited about it, which is great, because that means there's something that is so much more exciting to you that you could be doing. And it's just about, finding what that is. And the cool thing is that your body will tell you if the energy system is operating correctly. So we're moving into the heart center of motivation. And let me tell you, this system really works, but it takes some time to tune into because, again, there are programs that try to tell you that this isn't going to work, that this is some fluffy thing, that, you know, it's cool that if you believe in this, but you got bills to pay. Like, you don't have time to, you know, play with this fluffy stuff. All of those thoughts, you know, you can become aware of them and start to actually transform them. And this is something that we actively do. So for example, I've gone through this a lot where, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm an infinite creator. And then I have this like ridiculous thing that comes up. Like just a couple months ago, my, the electrical company came and was like, oh, it's going to cost like almost 10 grand to put the electricity on your house. And I was like, that's like the amount of money I have like in my bank account. And that was supposed to be my maternity leave. Like that's like all the money I had. And, you know, I wasn't going to work for a few months. And so immediately what wanted to happen was my body to go into panic and anxiety and be like, oh, I'm not going to have enough. But as soon as that energy came up, I realized that is actually in conflict with who I really am, which is an infinite creator. And that, you know, when I really sat into that fear, I realized that, you know, that's actually the opposite response of what could help in that moment. Because when you're in fear and lack, you close down. You're like, oh, I'm panicking. Like, this is it. I'm going to die. Don't have enough energy. I'm going to die. This is it for me. And so I asked myself, what is the correct response in this moment? And of course, then actually I started feeling this orgasmic energy flow through. And it's like, of course, move into creativity. If I moved into creativity, then I'm actually allowing more energy to come in, more things to flow through. And so this is about a level of trust in ourself, a level of trust in our abilities, in our creativity. And this is something that, you know, over time, as we experience it more and more, we really come into trust. You know, this kind of situation happened to me a bunch of times over the last few months. It's like every time it happened, it would test to see how deeply integrated this teaching I've been. You know, with the propane, like building a house has just been like the biggest learning experience ever. Because it's really like, how opens your root chakra? Like how much do you really believe in all the stuff that you're talking about, right? How much are you really living it? And it's just like large expenses after one after another. And so actually, that's actually where this course came in. It was like, Kara was like, okay, look, like find something that is needed. So I was feeling into all the sessions I was doing with all of you guys, and I found that, you know, the common denominator was that there was like a feeling of needing to move into another level of our light work, of our purpose on the planet. And I had all of these teachings that are here that are directly in alignment with that need. That's something that's really valuable. And I'm hoping that all of you are finding that this course has been valuable to you, because I really, you know, that's like, it's coming from this inspiration and this devotion of love that I really wanted to bring this value to you. I wanted to make sure that, you know, through this creation, that it's really like beyond what the monetary exchange is that it's like, it's so from the soul that it's like feeding and nourishing the exchange in a deep way. And then when that energy passed through my heart, I'm like, oh my God, this is so exciting. I'm going to be able to, you know, really share this love with all of you. The creative energy just came on, and I literally woke up at 3:33 in the morning. I wrote the curriculum in like 4 hours at 3 in the morning. It just kind of came through, and that's how this container came about. So this whole experience has been a summation of this process, actually, which is pretty cool. It's part of the alchemy. But all that is to say is that we can source, like, and that makes me feel like it's fluid, like this container might not happen again, because, and you know, in the false reality, somebody would probably like make a business out of this class, out of this specific thing, because it's like in the false reality, we want to like commercialize and consume like these specific things. Whereas like, you know, I feel that I am a infinite free-flowing creator being. So, you know, I can't really predict what the world is going to need that I have in 3 weeks, in 6 months, right? And it's this trust, this freedom that actually allows the infinite creativity to flow. Does that make sense? So of course, this is actually a small thing in comparison to what could be grounded, like, you know, a massive foundation that's flowing billions of dollars to support, you know, planetary healing. This is like, you know, a practice run that we're in. But it functions in the same way where, you know, that inspiration comes in from a free flowing place. It comes in from a weaving of our own thoughts, of our imagination, and of inspiration, where it's a cauldron of, you know, it's a cauldron between the divine and our individuated self. So a part of that is really, you know, breaking free of not resonant programs and belief systems that might be existing in our brain that forces us to think in a very linear and rigid way. Am I making sense? I hope I'm making sense. Ask questions if I'm not. It's kind of hard to articulate these thoughts. Okay, so the heart is amazing because this is our center of motivation, but also our center of like excitement and passion and love and all of those, you know, feelings. And actually it's like, you know, sometimes if somebody gets a really good idea, they'll message me and be like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I really want to do this, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, so excited. There's like this scintillating energy, and then, you know, I'll not hear from them for a year, and then like it's like nothing happened. And it's because, you know, they weren't able to slow down that vibration enough to move it through the lower body, which is the part where you actually land the cosmic sperm into the cosmic creative uterus and develop it into a thing that can be born, right? So this is an important part of our process as well. So let's talk about the love first. So if you're working on something right now and it feels kind of boring, it feels kind of lackluster, it feels kind of repetitive, like, you know, is this all there is? It doesn't like I'm tapping into my infinite creative potential. Like it's kind of in alignment, it's kind of spiritual, it's kind of cool, but my heart is just like not super into it. So this is a good place where we can start to dissect our motivation. So we can go into that feeling and say, well, you know, am I really doing this thing because I feel like it's going to revolutionize the world? Or am I doing this because I just didn't know what else to do? This is just what everybody else is doing. This is just, you know, something that I thought I would do one day a few years ago. Is this something that is actually maybe taking me to the next level? This is a good question to ask though, because if you're not super stoked about it, but you know that it's bringing you to that place where you're going to be super excited, then actually you can kind of weave that into it and say, okay, I know this is not forever. I know that this is taking me to the next step. So why don't I just, you know, feel grateful for this thing for now, while recognizing that I need to focus on what the thing is, that where I'm going. And then we can start this process again where we're thinking, okay, what is something that I have that is super valuable to the world that people really need? What is something that the world really needs that I have to provide that, and you know, it's again, it's really helpful to, you know, meditate, because then we get into this other brainwave state where instead of, you know, the lower brain being like limiting your access to infinity, we can access, theta brainwave state where we're actually connected to everything and there's infinite possibility. It's all about, tuning into the infinite and not allowing the fear or the conditioned brain to tell you what is and isn't possible. In a reality where anything is possible, where you can literally make anything happen, what would you do? And you probably want to do something that is helpful. So you want to think in the lines of like, what state of the world, what is the state of the world? How do my gifts and what I have bring value to the world? And value is, of course, what is needed, what is called for. That is the very essence of being of service to other, is recognizing what the other is needing and fulfilling that need, but not based on martyrdom, right? Again, this is where the heart comes in. The center is not like, oh, this other person needs this thing, I'm going to sacrifice myself and what I like just to give it to them. Because actually the highest level of the service is being in a state where you're absolutely fulfilling yourself and providing this value. And there is that magical sweet spot. Absolutely, there is that magical sweet spot where you have the perfect fit in the world and being of service. And to find that, we need to weave our higher mind and our heart. And again, this is a very exhilarating place to be because it's non-repetitive, right? It's like, it's probably not going to happen. Like, I'm probably going to record all of these again just because I feel like this is valuable information that other people might want. So I probably will record these courses again, but I'm probably not going to hold another one of these containers just because I get really bored of doing things twice. It might be like the manifestor in me. I don't have activated sacral, but like every time somebody wants me to teach a class twice, I'm like, no, I can't do it. I can't do it because it's not natural. Like, I don't know how those people are like teaching the same class like their whole entire life. I'm like, no, like my soul is so bored. I can't do this twice. Right? I can't predict like what is going to inspire me and what I'm going to be super stoked about in 6 months. So with that level of fluidity, of course, there comes this exhilaration. And in the old world, they want to say that's fear, like, oh, we don't know what's happening in the future. I'm so afraid. But actually, when we are in our creator being, we can actually always just know that it's going to be something that's wonderful and better than the last thing that you did for all involved, because we're evolving. We're constantly evolving. We're getting better at what we're doing. We're getting better at hearing the infinite. We're getting better at materializing the infinite. So everything that is coming is something that is more enjoyable than the last thing. Okay, so now when we have this creative impulse, it's moved through our heart. We're like, oh my goodness, I'm having heartgasms. I'm so excited. So this is when then the cosmic sperm passes through the gate, is being accepted by the creator, which is you. You're like, yes, this vibration may exist in this reality. This thing, project, object, function, whatever it is, may exist in this reality. We're going to pass it down through the heart. Oh my goodness, so excited. So in the correct operation, then this actually activates our sexual energy. And of course, this is, I think, where the majority of our blockages are that keeps these projects from taking form. And we focused on quite a bit of this today. Ooh. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this off now. Okay, So okay. Ooh. Just reading through here, seeing if there was any questions. Ashley, can you rephrase that question? I'm not sure if I understand. My brain's like, what? How can one we view now what we see and what heart desires and reality of how people say we ought to get it? Okay, I kind of understand. So I don't understand weaving. Like I understand the weaving, what we see and what our heart desires, but the reality of how people say we ought to get it. So I feel like that's a conflict because like the whole point is moving into a different reality. It's operating in a different reality and showing people that you can operate in a different reality. Because this is relatively new, you know, like for example, my dad, he's been telling me that I'm crazy, that I'm going to be homeless, that I'm never going to make any money, that I need to go to university, that I need to get a job. He's been saying all this stuff for like a decade, right? And I just kind of smile at him. I'm just like, yeah, you know, just watch. Like I've got nothing to say to you right now. I have nothing to prove to you right now. Like I can't just show you my bank account. I've got nothing. Like I can't tell you what I'm doing. There's no way that you can understand. So I just say, you know, I guess we're just gonna have to see what happens. And you know, he's completely mystified. He's like, I don't have any idea how you have a house. Like, you know, how do you do this? And of course, you know, this is like a patience game. And once you are comfortable in your own process of knowing where you are and knowing that it's like, I mean, I used to try to prove myself to my parents because I wanted their approval all the time. You know, I try to be like, look at all this cool stuff I'm doing. You know, like I'm really trying. Like, will you please just tell me I'm good? Like, please tell me that I'm a good girl. I need you to tell me that I'm a good girl. um, and then I was like, wait a minute. Why am I valuing myself based on what these people think at all? They have no idea. They don't value themselves. You know, they don't take care of themselves. They're not, you know, doing planetary shifting work. Like, why do I value myself based on what they think about me? And then, so I stopped really trying to prove myself to them. And I just, it's like once I really trusted that in my own process and I really recognize myself and recognize what I'm doing and where I'm at in my process, then, you know, what they say don't really matter to me because I know that they're operating inside a whole different reality and I could understand where they're coming from because I've successfully discerned where those parts of myself are. So there's parts of me that are programmed and parts of me that are organic. And, you know, I can see those parts of me inside them. And so I don't have a need to change them. I don't have a need to have them see me because this organic part of myself sees those parts of myself. Does that make sense? And that saved me so much emotional turmoil to recognize that like our parents, you know, when we're unconscious, before we come into consciousness, we could really live in a reality where they are God, you know, they are our creators. And oh my goodness, if my creator, you know, thinks I'm not good enough, then that means I'm not good enough because these people are my creators. And, you know, my mom, when she was possessed, she told me that I should just like go and die. I was like, okay, I was like an extreme situation that made me realize that, you know, these are humans that created my body, but they're not the creator. They're not my higher self. They're not people that create my life, right? So we're learning to find our connection and our life force from the creator, which is the reality, the trees and the prana and the universe. So I would say that it's actually impossible to weave their ideas into the way that the new earth operates unless they're working on themselves and are actually giving you advice from the higher reality, from the higher self accessed place, right? If they're just operating in fear and they're like, oh, Ashley, you have to go to university or you're never gonna, you know, succeed. You need to tune into yourself and ask yourself, you know, are they saying that out of fear and because they don't actually see beyond that reality? And I went to college because of that, actually. My parents wasted like 30 grand. And now I got this bachelor's degree in natural health science that I absolutely do not use at any time, ever. I have never used anything I learned in that class at all. I'm not saying that's true for everyone. It probably isn't. There's probably a school out there that's great. We're going to build a great school. Schools are, you know, useful when they're useful. But also know that I also just did that. I like was like, oh, my parents say I need a piece of paper. I thought, oh yeah, I mean, this piece of paper is going to be great. And yeah, it ended up being really useless to me because that was out of alignment for me. Like even as I was doing it, I was totally not in it. I like cheated my whole way through it just to like get as much done as quickly as I can. So my heart was really not in it. I was purely doing it out of a program in my intelligent brain. So my issue is that I always feel I'm working in the chaos. I'm struggling with finding the quiet space to support and accomplish my goals. Is that because you have children? Are you working? Do you have kind of a chaotic environment? Don't believe me, just watch. Hey. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think studying herbs is a fabulous idea if you love herbs. But again, so this is a really good example, right? It's like really discerning where thoughts are coming from in our head and how those thoughts make our body feel. So it's like if we think it's a fanciful idea, but we don't feel like our whole body is like, oh my God, this is going to be so great. I'm so excited. It's going to be hard to drag your ass through experiences because you're going to have to be out of your body the whole time because your body is not really into it. Right. I mean, there are people who are like obsessed. Like yesterday, Brian was watching some video on Snapchat, and it was about like this guy pouring hot lava. I love all this random stuff he watches because they're like really hilarious ways that our higher self communicates. But this guy was pouring, he was doing experiments, and he would pour like hot lava, molten lava on different things, and just to see what happens. Like it's really entertaining. So they had like and they have all these different people like reacting to the video, you know? So there's this one lady who's like a volcanologist, She's like, I'm a scientist that studies volcanoes. And she was just like, I just love volcanoes. I mean, it's just a place where like creation and destruction happens all at the same time, and like all this different lava, and like it turns into these cool rocks. So she was so into it. She loves volcanoes. Her body loved volcanoes. She's obsessed with volcanoes. Okay. There's that level of love inside everybody. And like, that's like the place that you want to be when you're creating. It could be volcanoes. Yeah. Well, the good thing about having a husband and a mother-in-law is that they can probably watch the kids sometimes, right? Seed bombs. Esther's really stoked about seed bombs. Yeah, she totally did. She had red hair too, I think. I'm pretty sure she had red hair. Just like fire. It's a volcano. It's destruction and creation all at the same time. I was like, wow, that's amazing. Yes, Ceres is creating galactic, angelic, shamanic music. So again, see how that we can have this idea, and then what we want to do is find. So that's like half of the creative process, Sarah. I'm just going to work with your idea for a second. So Sarah says, I love creating galactic, angelic, shamanic, ecstasy music. Very specific, fabulous. I know that she makes amazing music, right? So the key that you want to explore is the other half, which is like, okay, this is like what you have. So finding the hole in society, the need for that, right? And kind of weaving and finding the happy middle between making this music and serving something that is valued, that is needed in the world. So that's a place where you can invite inspiration. Beautiful. Love to play at events. Ooh. Okay, that is very specific. Okay, that's really awesome. So I want you to pull that through your heart. Tell me how it feels when you see yourself playing at a Corey Good event. How does your heart feel about that? Really good. Okay, so then very good that it passes, this creation passes through the gateway. Okay, so I want you to be specific here actually in the heart, okay? Because we want to really zone in on the specific information of motivation. So let's be specific. This is really good. Specific as in like, okay, so obviously Corey Good and David Wilcock, they have a lot, like a large following. You're going to be able to access a lot of people. So then the motivation that excites you here is going to be that, you know, oh, I'm really going to be able to activate all of these people. I'm going to be able to bring music and this magic and this awakening to all of those people, right? See how that motivation feels just a little bit more integrated there? Yeah. So keep rolling with that energy. Just feel really, because we need to feel absolutely in trust of ourselves. When you feel 100% trusting of yourself and your creation, it makes it easier to go full force in creating it. Whew. Great question, Ashley. That's the next step. So sounds like we have zoned in on our motivation. We recognize that our music is powerful, it's healing, it's activating. We want to share it with all of these people that could really benefit from it. It's going to bring so much love and healing, you know, that we're so motivated by this. So as we then allow that to pass through the gate of our heart into our lower body, So this is where we can again feel where that creation starts to bump up against things like, oh, I'm not deserving of this. Like that this kind of thing happens to people, but not me. Like I haven't been able to manifest this, for so long. I'm not going to be able to make any money. I'm not going to be able to do this. All of those things starts coming up to be pushed out. And it's almost like you have to allow that energy to literally come through and literally be birthed through your lower body. How is that feeling, if you don't mind us asking, Sarah, if you want to share with your process, how is that feeling? Can you go into that sadness and, feel what is in there? Uh-huh. Beautiful. That's really beautiful because this is like, I feel like we can all resonate and feel that, all the things that we were really excited about that didn't really get to successfully gestate. It is almost the same sadness and grief as, having a miscarriage, because it is something that we were really excited about, a birth, a creation that didn't get to gestate. So this is part of the cleansing that we need to do in our womb area so that we actually have the space. And this could also be, energies of our past lovers. I mean, I really recognized how strong, when we think about it, like, oh yeah, we carry the energy of our past lovers in our womb, like we can say that. But I really went into how much energy that could be this week, because I now have a bathtub and I spend a lot of time in it. I spend a lot of time in my bathtub when I get to sit in the water and, process energy. Well, I've been doing a lot of, cleansing and soul revocations and all sorts of different things. I'm like, oh, all of the energy of this person is now out of my body, blah, blah, blah. But when you think about it, like if a male literally ejaculates or has an orgasm inside of you, then chunks of their soul energy literally goes into your body. That's like really strong. There's a lot of energy there. So it takes some time to really access that energy. But it's good because once we have this deeper awareness of that, we could definitely process that energy out quicker. But I'm noticing that this last week, I was really going into it. I had this one boyfriend in 2014. And this was an experience where I was really kind of almost reliving or healing a part of me that had experienced being like a priestess or a sex healer. That's kind of like not resonance with this paradigm. Basically, they say in Egypt, when the males came back from war, they would have sex with these priestess healers, and we would transform and heal those people. Well, this man that I was with, it's like he didn't have any way of processing his emotional energy. So when we were having sex, I noticed that he was literally, he looked like he was in extraordinary pain or he was in emotional turmoil. And it's because he was really using the sex to dump his emotional energy. And he wasn't really conscious of this, but, it is a very relieving process. And so while I knew that a lot of that energy had come into my body, I didn't realize just how deep those energies can crawl and stay in our body. So it's been 6 years, and just this last week, I'm finding more layers of his energy in my body. And, he's just going to take a little bit longer to clear it out. And I really started thinking about how powerful that energy is, how strong ejaculation and orgasm really is like literally the person's essence coming into your body, right? So that energy, if you have had children and your children are fully grown, they could still, have residence in your womb. So all of those things need to kind of fully clear out. All the past timelines that we were carrying, outdated timelines. Whew. Whew. In the bath yesterday, I had this stark realization where I was like, I'm about to go on a rampage. I'm going to start yelling that all the males on this planet need to start to know how to use their penis properly. Like, I am so done. Y'all need to learn how to use your penis properly because, this is ridiculous. So I'm about to. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. And then I go on Facebook this morning and there was a lady talking about like, oh, if you have to lie to get sex, then you're insecure. And then this guy was commenting on her post being like, I always lie to get laid because it works every time. And I'm like, I just commented like, y'all need to learn how to use your penis properly. Like, this is ridiculous. But it's true. It's true. It's like, yeah, I can't even. I can't. I'm gonna give birth to my baby, and then I'm gonna be with her for a couple months, and then I'm starting a war. I'm going in. I'm gonna start writing books about it. That's so awesome, Sarah. I'm so happy for you. World War Z. Oh, goodness. The war against the sleeping penis. Okay. Yeah. That's really beautiful, Sarah. I've actually met Sarah's husband. I got to stay with her for a week or two, and he's a sweetheart. All right, penis jokes aside. Recapitulation is a great exercise. Yep, it works extraordinarily well. This is a technique. That's a great point, Azra. Thanks for bringing that up. This is a technique that is taught by Don Juan or the Carlos Castaneda books. It's basically this Toltec shamanic energy exercise that helps us release stuck energy. So it's really simple, actually. You just sit in meditation and then you focus on an energy that you like to release. So say it is, Sarah, that energy of feeling sad, that sadness you feel in your womb, of all of the things that could not be birthed, tune into that energy and then breathe in while moving your head to the left. So breathing in, turning your face to the left and still focusing on that energy. Okay, now we're going to breathe out and release that energy at the same time moving our head to the right. And then we're going to turn our head to the left and back to the right really quickly to just kind of lock in that process. Okay, so again, breathing in while thinking about the energy that we're releasing, breathing in and turning our head to the left. And then breathing out and turning our head while releasing the energy to the right. And then just turning our head back to the left and right again to anchor that release. And then you can just do it again, breathing in, turning our head to the left to hold on and focus on the energy we're releasing. And then breathe out, turning the other way, releasing the energy. And then, is that clear? So no, hold your breath while we're holding our breath while we do the last part. Does the situation need to be specific? Well, the more specific, the better, I think. It's kind of like the tapping, actually. It's really similar to tapping. Azra, do you remember? Because I feel like this is like, even, if you're releasing the energy of somebody, you could really be specific with it. I haven't really done it while not being specific. I don't know if anyone has, if you can share your experience. So with Karen, I know that you've had a lot of like energy of frustration. Remember when we were doing a session and you were just really frustrated and you wanted to leave? That energy is good energy to start with. That energy can be released through this practice. Rachel says, the more specific you can be entering the memory or feeling, the more fully it will release. That's my experience with it as well. So it seems like we're not sure if it needs to be specific. I guess you can try it, but I think it's more powerful when it is specific. And hey, the good thing is you can find what you need to release by doing the meditation, the Vipassana, or the breath work. Something will start coming up. And if you just sit with yourself and think, okay, what is an energy that I'm sick of feeling? What is an emotion that I'm really tired of experiencing? That's a good way to discover, some of those energies that might be kept inside. Oh, Sarah, love you. Ooh, okay. Because it is really the zoning into the feeling that helps it release. It's kind of like a biomechanical switch. Okay. Okay, Sarah Adams. I love you.
Love you too, Z. Thanks for doing that. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, so I'm gonna move in here if it's okay with you, and we're gonna just do a little bit more womb clearing here because I feel that we are getting close to clicking into that timeline reality. Whew. Yeah, and there's just, it feels almost like, I can feel the cosmic sperm coming in. It's trying to find a place to land, but it's like, oh, there's like no room here. I can't anchor in here anywhere. But it's good because it's through the heart and it's already here. Don't be sorry, Sarah. the other Sarah. We love you so much. We're here supporting you as well. Ooh. Okay, so I'm going to pull this out. Something here. Okay, time for a healing. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so we're going to source all the places in our body which is still in conflict with the organic process of creation in our body. So just intending for the field and our higher self and our body to feel comfortable and safe to show us, where in our body or consciousness that we are still needing to restore or release to allow the creative process to function properly in our body. So just begin to breathe with that intention. Tune into the body, tune into the energy body. And also be open to that this might be the moment when those energies can finally move and be released. So just breathe. Hi, Frank. Clear, 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 clear. Clearing all fear programming in the lower body, which keeps our creativity from flowing freely. Opening up the womb space, the cervix, the pelvic girdle, opening up space in the lower belly. Breathe open. Releasing all fear programming, all implantation, all energy hijacking systems. We're pulling off the artificial umbilical cord to the artificial matrix. In the lower belly, below the belly button, actually. It's in like maybe an inch or two below the belly button. It's like a patch. This part, this umbilical cord, has been the center of energy exchange where we believe that all of our nourishment and our food and our sustenance and our life force energy, that we actually get it from the artificial matrix. This is a whoa, system. So we're beginning to extract and remove this artificial umbilical cord from the lower belly. So just breathe as we reach the technology, the light technology to remove this part. Whoa. And at the same time, we're opening all of our pores, tuning into our light body, feeling that there are all of these magnificent light tendrils that are receiving nourishment from the joyful air elementals. That we actually receive our nourishment from water, from fruits and plants and animals that grow in nature. We receive our nourishment from each other's love, from the light of the sun. So we're just reactivating these correct portals of energy exchange with the organic reality as we switch systems. Ooh. Whoa. Feel how it might feel like if our lower belly was free, was like a soft, fleshy bellow. That all the density and condensed energy and coagulated feelings and calcified tension. Ooh, allowing the energy to pierce through all of that, restoring a sense of fluidity and softness to the flesh that is here. Gentle, innocent, pure, free. Clearing out any pain or tension around the cervix. Making room for gestation. Hmm. Oh, something's coming out here. Just breathe. Hmm. So Christine's tea bag has brought us the perfect message for this now moment. It says nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. This is a very root chakra message, and I think that it really resonates with where we're going here, because somebody was asking, how do we slow down the excitement? We really have to feel that our lower body is a greenhouse. It really is a greenhouse, a womb, right? And it's not like the moment you have a dream, like, oh, I'm gonna make a baby, that baby just pops out. You know, the baby stays in there for like 9 months, 10 months. And there's nothing you can do to make the baby grow faster. There's nothing you can do to make the baby come out when you want it to. Things have to happen in their own time. But what we can do is to create the optimal environment for that seed to grow. So as we have the cosmic sperm of inspiration come through our higher intelligence, as we have spoken about, move into our heart and is nourished by this love and excitement, and it brings us to life in this big way. It continues to move down into our lower dantian, the sacral and root, where, we want to make sure that we have the correct space for that beautiful little seed to actually take root and grow. So if we have a lot of fear and a lot of pain and a lot of frustration that's still here, then that's not a happy or joyful or easy environment for creativity to grow, for a baby to grow. And I have learned this. Sweet Kara has been pointing it all out to me. she she's such a, I mean, she's very picky, and she's so, let's say her vibration is so high. She's like, this, when she first came in, I had purged so much because she was like, this energy is uncomfortable. This program is in here. You still haven't healed this. Whew. So it's the same thing with our big projects, and especially the bigger they are, the more room they're going to need in our womb. And this level of integration, it's like, okay, so we are beings who are operating in the organic system. There are lots of beings that don't operate in this way, right? They're like, oh, I'm going to screw people over and get what I want. I don't care if it's, aligned with higher self, whatever. So that is one way that you can get places. And there's lots of people in the new age community that kind of, sell their soul or whatever. But that's not what we're here to do. Some of us have higher selves that are very much in integrity, looking at you, Sarah, right? Our higher self is not going to let us, express ourselves in distorted ways. It's just kind of a lock that you've built yourself before you incarnated. You're like, I'm not going to be a spiritual asshole. I'm not going to profit off of the ascension. That's just, how that's an integrity that you've come in with. And I think all of us, we're really doing the work because we realize that we're choosing to really, really embody and operate in the correct template. So that means that in order for us to be successful in what we're doing, another important thing to realize is that, not everybody is here to be a way shower. Not everybody. So there's some people that are whistleblowers. It's not their job to be a spiritual teacher, right? And the new age community, our awakening community, have a hard time discerning because we're used to like just looking at the person on the podium and kind of putting them up there on a pedestal without discerning like what role they're serving. So if you are a teacher, if you are a way shower, if you are a genetic scientist, then there are certain, vibrations and genetic configurations you will have had to figure out before you can broadcast to people. And so the shortcut to getting everything you want is, once again, filing through all of the things, because if you're not getting what you want, it's not because you're not getting it. It's not because God doesn't want you to have it. It's not because there's interference that's keeping you from getting it. If you don't have what you want, it's actually because a part of you is saying you're not ready yet. And you have to ask that part of you, why? What is blocking me from receiving what I want? And we're so close. I mean, I have just witnessed this, right? It's like the easiest way to get anywhere is to really do the work in our body, because the reality is always a reflection and responding to our frequency shifts. And you will watch, opportunities be tossed at you, because this world is so hungry for the correct genetic expression. So if you're operating in alignment, if you're operating in the correct space, you will be given all of the opportunities to share that. And shortcut here is that all of it is in our root and sacral chakras. Okay, how are you guys feeling? Okay, so just the last little energy that's coming in for the root chakra as we're integrating here is that the root chakra, again, is a very slow frequency. It doesn't carry any sense. When it's healthy, there's no sense of urgency, there's no sense of frustration, there's no sense of rushing and needing to get something done. That's why Christine's tea bag is so appropriate. Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished, right? It's really being able to tune into our creative flow. And there's this trust. This trust comes from really transforming the algorithm in our root chakra. Because when we can actually sit in the comfort of doing nothing, of really slowing down, we actually, from this place, access the first step. Right? This is a place of presence. It's actually the present 3D timeline. Whereas, we're talking about chakras oscillate at different frequencies, and that's why things can be so exciting when you first get an idea. In the crown and the third eye, there's no time. We're outside of time, where everything is existing all at once. There's literally no present, no future. Everything is accessible. So you're like, yeah, I got a healing center, and I'm healing lots of people, and I traveled the whole world, and I made 5 albums, and I wrote 3 books, and I built 7 schools. Like, yeah, all of that happened, like, in some time space continuum, right? But like none of that is happening in the current moment, where time moves in right now. And as we move down through the chakras, time slows down. Our perception of time slows down, let's say. So when we're in the root chakra, we're actually in the now. We're also, so there's different nows. As they say, be here now, like, what now are you talking about? Which now? Is it the cosmic all nows, or is it like the current right now? In the current right now is where we actually access, where our creative energy is, where all of our traumas are, how our creative energy is actually operating. And this is such a key right here, because, most of the time when we're like, oh, I'm so frustrated, like nothing's happening, is because we haven't even ever sat down into our root chakra to see where we are right now. So we're just kind of constantly floating. And we can just constantly be floating in unmanifest spaces without actually anchoring in. And Sarah says we can be manifesting on the inner planes and actually affecting timelines there. I just want to be careful here. Like, yes, that is true, but this is also where a lot of light workers get stuck. And this is where a lot of people get trapped by, certain things like, oh yeah, we're just manifesting in our consciousness. We just have to, but like we're ground crew, right? We have to be on the ground. We're here to actually create new systems. And maybe this is just the next phase. Like maybe this is something that this is like a new wave. So I deeply recognize that your generation of light workers have been doing that this time by just uplifting the frequency of the planet. That was really hard. Thank you so much for doing that. I completely recognize how dense things were when you arrived here. That's like, it's messed up. It's crazy. It's amazing that you're still here and that you're still rocking it. I'm really honored to be able to provide this bridge to actually move out of that intensity and step our feet on the ground here into the next phase. Navy SEAL of the galaxy, for real, right? Just got real muscular. Like, oh! So here's the key to the next level. The key to the next level of actually, because, I feel like a lot of people in your generation felt really discouraged and frustrated that, we've had these beautiful visions for so long that they're just not manifesting. They're just not materializing in the 3D. So the key here is really in the root chakra, where we're moving out of fight and flight and freeze. We're actually like, okay, there is time. There's lots of time. There's endless time here. I can take, 3 minutes, just be like, okay, I'm doing nothing. Right? It's the different frequency of lucidity that exists in the root chakra. And if we're feeling afraid, if you're feeling agitated, if we're feeling like we are anxious and need to just do something, like this is a survival impulse that we can start to transform. The survival impulse says there's not enough time. You better be working right now. If you're not working right now, you're going to die. No, no, no. Love needs room to live in the root. Yes, it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. And the whole planet really has. This is like the deepest work. The reason why my light technology is called Earth Star is because that's where humans were chopped from our root, and all that's how humans were deceived to be separate. When we were severed from our own source of energy, we were made to believe that we get our source of life from the artificial matrix. This is like the crux of how humans were severed from our original connection to life itself, the earth, the sun, nature. So as we're reestablishing our true roots, our true source of life, this is literally healing the whole planet. And through this understanding, we're going to be able to create rooted solutions that bring humanity back into connection with that. Mm-hmm. You're doing great, soul flower. It's so great to be in the root chakra. It feels so good. It's like I'm having this sensation of, I feel like this is a feeling that somebody has once shared with me when they were on San Pedro, where it's like you could feel the tendrils of life force moving through all the trees and blades of grass. And there's just this like exchange of energy, of aliveness, of consciousness, of magic. And you could feel the speed at which the plant is growing. And there's so much nourishment and love in this vibration, in this frequency, in this speed of experiencing time. Seaweed in the waters of creation. Okay. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Sarah Adams, would you like to share a song?
Yeah, I was actually thinking of sharing the music video Spirit Come Home, because that was when I really felt like I was in the root, and in the heart and in the planet. So I don't know if that's possible. I
Would
did
you
put the link.
would you like to play it for us?
My Zoom interface isn't that great. I could try. You guys could let me know. Is it possible to play the video, or do you want me to try to play it live?
Well, you can try. I know that my computer's doing a weird thing with the share. So if you click share,
Uh-huh.
can you click share?
Yeah, it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
So let
I
me
might be able to play it. Let's see.
it,
Hold on. Let me grab my guitar.
and see if you can play it, and then I will see if I can. Hmm, Okay. Oh, yep. Here we go. Okay, and I have
Let
activated.
me know. I changed my advanced features so it might sound decent. But let me know if you hear the guitar, and if not, I'll just sing it with my voice, okay? Give me a thumbs up. Can you hear the guitar?
Sounds great.
Sounds okay? Okay. This is a long song, so I might just give you a little glimpse of it. So, in the end of August 2017, the architecture of the new transharmonic universe anchored into the earth. And we've been catching up as a humanity ever since. But the planet went into that transharmonic universe in 2017. So this is a song of having the glimpse of that feeling of where the earth was anchoring herself. So it's called Spirit Come Home. Spirit of beauty, Spirit of light, I am feeling, my heart is feeling, ecstasy breeze across my face. I am a citizen of the land of joy. I am a citizen of the oneness queendom. I walk down the path to find you there, and the wind swells and magic rises up in the air, and the wind swells and mother's cloak it dances, and the chimes they ring, and the spirit romances. Oh, you play my soul with your fingers of heaven. You touch my strings going over here. Heart blessing every part. Oh, Spirit, Spirit, I am home. Oh, Spirit, nowhere left to roam. I am home. I am home. I am home. I am home. Did you guys? I hope you guys heard that okay. The YouTube video is there so you can watch the whole thing in good sound.